Yeah, when you want to do recording, you realize you have squeaky chairs. But how's everyone doing? Today's Sunday, and we're doing an earlier edition today because today I just did a father and son thing with my child. We This is the first time we both of us are experiencing going through a whole new experience of bonding as well as using a particular activity to do that, and that particular activity it's fishing. So we just got back and I just want to get this done so that I could rest early today. So I apologize if this is on short notice. But anyways, thank you for watching. This is the Melvin Live Show. We talk about the 1 person, 1 million all digital business. If you want your question to be answered and you think about creating a 1 person, 1 million digital business, this is the show to ask your question. I will do my utmost best to answer any of your questions if I can. And if I can't, I will open it up to my network for their contribution. So if you got a questions in any regard you think may be relevant to the 1 person, 1 million all digital business, make sure you leave it in the comments. I read every single comment. Those of you who have been spamming my YouTube comments, watch out because I'm coming for you. Now, that aside, today I would like to talk about this idea of how you do anything, it's how you do everything. Now, what does that mean? So, many years back, one of the key recurring pattern that I noticed about myself was I was being late for meetings. And sometimes being late was not just like 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes being late could be like half an hour. And God forbid, 1 hour late for a meeting. Now, absolutely, unprofessional. But yet at the same time, I noticed that that is a recurring pattern. And it's not just in the situation of coming for a meeting or going for a meeting, but even like meeting deadlines, for example, or promising to do something by a certain time, but yet not doing it or not doing it on time, or knowing that I wouldn't be able to do it on time and yet wanting to commit to that time frame itself. And so as I kind of evaluate my behavior and this recurring pattern itself, I then realized that what was going on was I was being overly ambitious and I want to cram as much as possible within a day. And so I would do anything possible to just knowing that I would squeeze a meeting in between two meetings, or I would squeeze a project in between two projects itself, knowing full well that there could be a possibility that I will not be able to fulfill that promise, but yet wanting to undertake that task itself because A, I want to challenge myself, and B, I just want to cram as much as I can into a particular time frame. And of course, over time, one of the key thing that keeps happening, I mean, everything has got its consequences, right? So after all this recurring behavior, what I noticed later on was that I began to lose the trust of the people that I work with, or they get really fed up with me, and they would then start showing up late for their meetings, for our meetings, for example, or they would understand that if I say 4 o'clock, what I actually meant was 4:30 or beyond. And that led to a lot of tension, that led to a lot of distrust. And over time, it kind of snowballed into a situation that I become known as someone who is not able to deliver the work on time. And so, as I evaluate this habit itself or this recurring pattern, I then notice that one thing that really happening is that I am just overly too ambitious, and I am just not giving myself, making it fair to myself, being fair to myself. So by cramping everything in, obviously, I just got 24 hours a day, and the number of waking hours I have, I'm just not able to do all that. So, like for example, this show itself, I had to make sure that it becomes a routine. It gets scheduled. It become a routine, and after a while, it becomes a habit. And as it becomes a habit, to constantly refine the entire workflow itself so that it becomes more streamlined, it becomes more efficient and effective, rather than just, oh, by the way. And I must say that, when I look at the several habits that I've been stacking, some of them quite successful, some of them not quite successful. And the one that was quite successful was essentially allowing me to do certain things to express myself. And that's something that I kind of have been keeping it going. And so where does it leave us with this? So earlier on, I was saying that, I schedule it. First, I schedule it. Next, I make it into a routine. So every night I have to do this. And then after that becomes a habit that when I don't do it, something's just not right. Just like, when you wake up and you do not brush your teeth, or you do not brush your teeth before you go, so something is just not right. Right. And and once it becomes a habit, the next step that you want to do, it's really you want to be able to refine it into a workflow. So first, make time for it by scheduling it in your calendar. Next, make it into a routine, something that you do every day or every week or every other day, whatever the frequency may be. Once it becomes a routine, over time, it will become a habit. And it becomes a habit. w- And you know that it becomes a habit when, if you do not do it, you feel like something's amiss. So, for example, like, waking up and not brushing your teeth and going out, something's amiss, right? It's just not right. So it becomes a habit. But once it becomes a habit, the next step you need to do is to look at it as a workflow. Is there anything that you can streamline? Is there anything that you can take away? Is there anything that you can add? Is there anything that you can refine so that the output becomes far better, far superior, far more effective than ever before? without you having to do more, right? And so, as a result of that, once you understand this whole flow itself, you then understand the meaning behind how you do anything is how you do everything. Because in anything that you do, there is a particular attitude, there is a particular disposition towards things. So whether it's in filing taxes, it's in filing return for your company, or it's just paying your credit card bills, or just simply doing the daily tasks that you ought to do. What is that disposition? What is your attitude towards it? How do you actually approach it? Because once you understand that, you understand how this would have an impact on your work, on your tasks, and all that. So, a lot of us as one person business, I think the main struggle that we have is we tend to want to do everything ourselves. And when we want to outsource, we struggle with it because if I need to tell someone or if I need to explain to someone over 40 minutes on how to do something that I can do it in 20 minutes, why would I want to do that? And so we kind of miss the point here because the point is you go slower by going faster, right? You take the time to explain to someone, you may take 40 minutes to do that for a 20-minute task. But if you are able to do that effectively, if you are able to communicate that effectively, then that 40 minutes is going to buy you a lot of 20 minutes now and going forward. However, many of us are not able to, in that 40 minutes itself, to be able to accurately and precisely describe the process or the workflow to the person that we are outsourcing it to. And so, because we do not have the workflow in the first place, or perhaps we have a workflow, but it's not well defined, or perhaps we have a workflow, it's well defined, but what you're looking at is outsourcing results and not the process. And so, whichever category you're in, you need to understand first and foremost, you need to have a workflow. So reevaluate everything that you do, whether it's your content that you're creating, whether it's the way that you interview your customers, or it's the way that you actively do research. What is that workflow like? Map everything down, right? Map everything down and be as precise as you can. And if you like a framework to do that, there are many frameworks to map out workflow or processes, if you like, right? Look at organizations like EFQM or European Foundation for Quality Management, and you'll get a good idea of what is an approach that you could use or what is a framework that you can use in mapping out processes, right? So first and foremost, to map out those processes, or first to even recognize that you need a process, right? That everything is a process. Secondly, it's to map up that process. And thirdly, is then to determine which part is the process and which part is the result. And so at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to be able to outsource or automate some of these processes, but the result is something that you will have to take an active role in. And that's what makes things a little bit tricky here. So, all said and done, what is your workflow for you to do your research, for you to create the content, for you to make a sale, for you to get a lead, for you to get a group of prospects? What is your workflow like, right? Get it down. Know that you need a workflow, get it down, and then see how you can streamline that. Right? I hope that has been helpful. If it has, make sure you give me a like on the video itself. And if you got a question with regard to any of this thing, leave me a comment and I will be sure to answer the comment itself. All right. And so, with that, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.